game on the schedule crucial, it take a toll. It don't matter if we at home or on the road. You try to tackle, I'll truck a sucker and take it so. I'm staring at 4th and goal, gotta find an open hole. A linebacker just close a hole where I'm supposed to go. So now I'm thinking my centers are all pro, so I trust he can make a waffle wherever the ball go. Yeah, there's 5 seconds on the play clock. The crowd was loud, but they stopped. Now it's silent while they watch. They stand off in the red zone. All I see is red home. Watch me get this touchdown and this W and head home.
Welcome in, Cowboys Nation, to Game Day Live. Week 16, presented by Fantasy, Underdog Fantasy Sports. Jesse Holley, Skywalker Steel, Cowboys, Eagles. And I don't give a dang who the quarterback is. It matters today, Jesse. What's good, man?
What up,
Happy
brother?
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Holidays. You got a nice little ring to it. I
Nice
like
little ring
that,
to it.
man. You know, hope you like your gift. Smell a little good.
Yeah, I hope you
know?
like yours as well. Keep your foot on their neck, baby. Just do it in style.
Keep their foot. I need to keep my foot on Kellen's neck, but that's a discussion maybe we talk about a little bit later in this game. But Merry Christmas, Cowboys Nation, for those out there watching. For those here at Lockhart Barbecue, it's popping today.
I love me some Lockhart. You know, I love me some barbecue, man. And sometimes the games, being with you, being with the people, are fantastic. But boy, when halftime is over. When halftime is over.
When we decided to move to Lockhart, he was the first person I thought of. I'm like, man, he about to get this free Lockhart.
I said, when halftime is over, I'm going to get that brisket, get me some of that jalapeno salad, and to make me a sandwich. Oh, man.
The sauce is good here, too, man. But shout out to Lockhart. We appreciate y'all for hosting us here, man. Appreciate Cowboys Nation for being here. And there's a lot of Eagles fans here. I don't like it, Jesse.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest with you. I don't like it. So if you are at the game today, please, 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 please be loud and be proud and represent, because the Cowboys Nation is going to need you.
I don't know how all these Philly fans got to Texas, man.
I don't know.
I get it. I mean, they probably circled this game way back when, but, man, there's a lot of Philly fans out here today.
It is. And I just don't like it, man. But, hey, listen, let me tell you how serious the Cowboys team is taking this one. Usually when they do these captains, it's a random person every week. They choose somebody different, maybe who's having a good practice or something like that. Not today. They said offense, Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Defense, Micah Parsons. Special teams, C.J. Golden.
Yeah.
We're not playing today.
From the start.
We're not playing.
We serious from the coin flip.
From the coin flip.
Yeah.
As they should be, Jesse. This is a big game. I don't care who the other opposing quarterback is. I don't care that you're 2 or 3 games down. The division is almost up for wraps, but guess what? It's not.
It ain't.
Okay? The fat lady hasn't sung. You just lost to the Jaguars. You need to build some momentum. I know people don't believe in momentum. I don't care if you don't believe in it. The Cowboys need to bounce back from last week. This is absolutely a big game.
Huge game. I've been a part of this rivalry for a long time. Played in it, covered it for a very long time, and it is absolutely, positively, it doesn't matter who's there, who's not there, what the records are. You don't want to lose to Philly. It doesn't matter. You just don't. You don't want to lose to Philly. So whether Jalen Hurts is playing or not, whether Ron Jaworski's playing, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. You want to go out there and win the football game. And maybe never everyone doesn't feel this way, but I feel this way. Winning is contagious. I don't want to lose. I don't want to find myself down losing 2 games in a row and looking up, and now we're pointing fingers. And you know how the national media, and it sometimes even will be, if you lose a football game, you begin to critique and you break down everything else. So for the Cowboys' sake, one, getting a win in this rivalry, keeping your edge, trying to win this division of things. We don't know how much Jalen Hurts' shoulder is hurt. They're talking about he might not play next week against the Saints. So win today, they lose tomorrow, and now it
goes from 3 games into lose to 2 games to maybe 1 game. So you just never know. And even if the division does get wrapped up next week, so what?
Right. You
still need to build. You need to start finding ways to be cleaner in these games. And we talked about it on the podcast this week. Ebbs and flows are going to happen, but those peaks and valleys cannot be so high and so low. Dallas has to find a way to have maintain some consistency throughout these games,
especially as you're heading to the playoffs. This game is important today, but there's a little bit of an eye looking forward towards what the playoffs is going to be, because you're locked in on where you're going to be, and you want to find yourself getting to that point of offensively, defensively, special teams wise, are we peaking? Are we playing our best brand of football? Or all together, we're looking at this thing and saying, hey, we got a good thing going headed into January playoff situation. So for the Cowboys, it's not only just today, it's building that momentum back, getting things back on track so that you feel good about your situation heading into the playoffs.
And as we said here before the show started, Jalen Hurts is out. But that Eagles defense is still there.
Yep.
Right? Your quarterback is still playing.
Yep.
Your offense is still playing. So I get Jalen is out. But you need to prove to the league that you can go toe-to-toe and beat this kind of defense because make no mistake about it, this is a really good defense. Okay?
Yeah.
So
you're right.
I'm not hearing about it. And we'll break it all down here once we get to our first and second block of the show. But before we get to that, we always like to start off with our game day catch-ups. And today is the inactives, as we always do. And some interesting names here. Let's start off, though, with Sam Williams, who got into an accident yesterday right before the game. Fortunately for all parties, everybody was okay. But he suffered a concussion, I believe it was, and
a strained neck.
So we're not sure how long Sam will be out, but we know he won't be playing today.
Yeah, and if you saw the video or pictures of the car,
could have been worse.
It could have been way, way worse. The way if you look at that car, you would have. If I didn't tell you that he was okay, and I'm not minimizing a strained neck or concussion, but if I just told you that was the extent of what that car wreck looked like, what his car looked like, you would go, oh. That's significantly that looks like it's much greater than what it's what it's turned out to be for Sam Williams, and that's a great thing. But unfortunate that he won't be playing today.
Interesting that I don't believe Tack got called up. So no Sam Williams today. No Leighton Vander Esch with the pinched nerve. I guess is what it came out. Stinger, something along those lines. Neck injury with Leighton Vander Esch. You don't like it, so he's probably going to miss a few games, but he's out today. James Washington and Jalen Tolbert. Out for the receiver position. Both. Do we see Cavante Turpin today? More often. I mean, he got the little call. He went to the Pro Bowl. I mean, because they've usually had one guy out. But both? Even James Washington came in and blocked somebody last week. Jalen Tolbert will come in and be we call it wide guard. He'll come in and block somebody. None of them? Am I looking too deep into this one?
No, you elevated T.Y. Hilton, and so he'll be active today.
True, so that takes one of them.
That takes one of them, and then you go. Game day at times becomes a number situation, and with the defense being down so many injuries, you may say, okay, we're going to be down another receiver so that we can bring up a defensive lineman or a linebacker or another DB or another offensive lineman, whatever it may be. We start looking at those numbers for the game because what you have on your roster, you can only dress out 48
Very true.
on Sunday. So they may look at it and say, hey, T.Y., you up and ready to go? Cavante Turpin, if we need you, maybe you'll have to play some receiver. But for the most part, you're going with CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup,
those are your top.
Noah Brown, and T.Y. Hilton.
Man, with James and Tolbert out, maybe T.Y. gets more ticked than we'd imagine in the first game.
I don't know. I think Michael Gallup, that 3 wide receiver set, you may see some more tight end that tight end
that worked
set.
in round one against this team.
So you may see that, but I think most teams with those top 3 receivers, they get the bulk of the carries, and that still may lead for T.Y. to get his 15 to 20-ish snaps in the football game.
His ramp up is what they like to call it.
Now, what you can't have or what you pray you don't have is an injury to one of those top 3 guys, Noah Brown, Michael Gallup, or CeeDee Lamb.
Right. Interesting. So both receivers out for the Cowboys. Trayvon Mullen, who we heard all week, it sounded like Trayvon was going to play this week due to the situation with Kelvin Joseph getting benched. He's down. Will Grier and Marquise Bell are also down. But who has been called up? Mackenzie Alexander has been called up, who's been a veteran slot cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys, but for this league, period. And I think this indicates that they will move Deron Bland out wide for cornerback 2. That's my guess. We'll see here when the game starts. But, they benched Kelvin Joseph, and it sounds like people inside the building believe that's real. Like, this is not hey, we're sending a message, but you're benched.
Yeah.
And Nashawn Wright filled in adequately, right? But Deron Bland has been your second-best cornerback, it feels like, ever since he came for Jordan Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Kelvin Joseph, it just wasn't. Sometimes things begin to spiral out of control, and you're trying to fight your way to hold on to it, but you just can't. And now Coach Quinn said this week that they were going to have competition, that there was going to be, real competition for that spot. So whether that be Israel Mukuamu or Nashawn Wright or Kelvin Joseph or, Mackenzie Alexander or Deron Bland, whoever it may be, whoever's stepping into that situation is stepping into a situation with lacking the amount of total reps that you would kind of actually feel comfortable with heading into week 16, 15 of the season. So they're going to have to step up and play a major role today. Now, the good thing about that is that you don't have their starting quarterback playing in Jalen Hurts, but Gardner Minshew may be more pass happy than what Jalen Hurts would have been. We know that what Jalen Hurts is with his feet.
Right.
But Minshew, he may be one of those gunslingers that might want to take advantage of those opportunities downfield. We'll see. And we hope that these guys are ready to play because they're up against today probably one of the best wide receiver cores in the country, in the league.
Offense, period.
Yep.
I mean, these are just some of the key players for the Eagles here. Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith, and A.J. Brown. And there's no Jalen Hurts. And Gardner Minshew is such a weird quarterback because I don't think he's bad.
Right.
His record is not great. He's 8-14 as a starter, but he has 41 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. If I just told you, hey, this quarterback got 41 touchdowns and 12 interceptions in his career as a backup, you'd be like, shit, that's a damn good backup.
Right.
So I don't – yes, this is not the same offense. Right. No. It's not going to be the same offense with Jalen Hurts out because Jalen Hurts is going to get you about 10 to 15 carries a game, sometimes more, depending on how that game script goes. Minshew is more of a 5-flat, slow-footed type of quarterback that has some razzle-dazzle mobility to him, kind of that swashbuckling Tony Romo, spin around. He's more of that kind of mobile guy as opposed to running around Jalen Hurts type of mobile guy. So that helps you out there. But like you said, maybe they try to throw it a little bit more traditionally, which, if that's the case, I welcome that for the Cowboys. But what do you expect will be different with this QB change, or what do you think they'll emphasize more with the QB change for the Eagles?
I think they're going to simplify it. I mean, anytime you get into a game, you're going to say, we're playing the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
We know what their tendencies are. We know what their strengths and weaknesses are. So for the first and foremost, it's going to come out and they're going to say, hey, Gardner Minshew, this game is not on your shoulders.
Right.
But Miles Sanders, it's on yours. Jordan Mailata, Kelsey,
Lane,
it's on yours. We're gonna try to run the football efficiently and effectively all game long and keep ourselves ahead of the sticks. And then when we get to third down, we hope our third downs are manageable. 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6 at times. So that way we're not asking Gardner Minshew to go out there and have to play hero ball or win the football game. Now, to your point, I think Gardner Minshew is a decent quarterback. He can go out there and throw the football. A quarterback changes. Go out there and look at the quarterback in San Francisco. System-wise and what's around him. You could say Gardner Minshew's record, whatever it is, but look for the team that he was playing for.
Right.
He's never had a team with the number one offensive line in the league, with a solid running game, with an elite wide receiver. You can say whatever you want about Devontae Smith. He's a 1B or a 2. And then Quez Watkins still comes in there and makes his plays.
Quez is good, yeah.
Quez is good, and you add Dallas Goedert back to the mix. So Gardner Minshew will have a host of weapons to throw to, but it's going to start first and foremost up front, running the football, and they're going to check, again, the Cowboys. Can you stop the run? We're going to see, but with those injuries, it's going to be one of those interesting games today.
That's why I do not care about the quarterback situation, because they still have an extremely talented team around them, and we are witnesses to having talent around a backup quarterback that can help lead you along the way. Now, we asked Cooper Rush to do a 5 games. They're asking Gardner to maybe do a 1 or 2 games. 1 game, lock it up, and now we can rest our guys.
Right.
They're just asking Gardner Minshew to do it for 1 game. So I don't come out here and be like, oh, it's just Gardner Minshew. I don't care about that. Come out here and say it's the Eagles. It's the 13-1 Eagles. Number 1 offense or whatever, right? Good offensive line, good skilled players, et cetera, et cetera. I think what they'll end up doing with Gardner Minshew is taking what they do and magnifying it. They're a run team already.
Yep.
Turn that up a little bit.
Yep.
They're a screen team already. Turn that up a little bit. They're a quick game team already. We're going to turn that up a little bit, because a lot of that is what the Cowboys struggle with anyway, so why would you go away from that? I say it all the time. When we watched the Jaguars game last week, I'm like, well, why would I stop doing what the Jaguars did? And what happened when they stopped? Cowboys got to stop.
Yep.
So this is what Philly does, though. Down, possession in, possession out. We're going to get we're going to get some guards and tackles moving. We're going to get wide receivers moving, quick screens, get the ball to our playmakers fast.
Pre-snap eye candy.
Pre-snap eye candy. Post-snap eye candy. Yeah. Play action. Like they are going to test. And it seems to be like it doesn't matter who your quarterback is, Matt Ryan, whoever, the long neck guy from Davis Mills with the Texans, Aaron. It don't matter. They'd be like, "Where's number 7? Okay, there's 7. Where? Found you.
Right.
Mouse in the house. Cornerback 2. Yep. I don't care who's out there. Throw it up." Ron Bland may be a different story, but I feel like he's going to test that a few times. And Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown have been phenomenal on deep balls this year. That's also been with Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
So they have to come out here because they got something to prove. 400-something yards they gave up last week. Defense, I'm talking about Cowboys Nation. Got to the quarterback one time last week. So they got something to prove, man. They gave up over 100 yards again on the ground, almost 200, I think it was, when you factor in the ending the rounds and the reverses and whatnot. So this defense, I truly don't care who the quarterback is. They need to come out here and play with that type of mentality that we got to prove that we are him.
Yeah, and for the last 2 games for the Cowboys, they've given up 31.5 points a game on defense, 56% on third down
Not
conversion
good.
for the opposing team's offense. And I think the biggest number that we look at, you just mentioned it, 1 sack.
1 sack.
This 1 sack in the last 2 games, and if you go out for the last couple games, it may be 3 over the last 4 or 5 games. So for this Cowboys defense, you have to step up, and I hope I'm not taking too much of a turn. The defense had to step up, even though you're in that moment where you're going to be missing your leading tackler. And I know people are going to say Leighton Vander Esch steadies this linebacking crew.
And I'll be the first to admit here, for those who know, earlier in the season, Leighton Vander Esch is not a guy that I would be capping for. But Leighton Vander Esch over the last 3 weeks or so has played some solid ball for you. And coming off that Texans game, I thought was his best of the season. He's out now.
Yep, he's out. He's a leading tackler with 90 tackles this season. So now you're looking at a guy in Barr who doesn't move as good as he used to back in the day laterally. If you rush him and he comes forward, he's a better player. But when you have to get him to move laterally, speaking of a team like Philadelphia who does a lot of this eye candy, a lot of the pre-snap motion, moving guys around, a lot of misdirection, sometimes Anthony Barr, his eyes gets confused and caught up in that. And now you're asking a guy in Jabril Cox to come in there, and he hasn't been active
all year. He hasn't played really
so
meaningful
now
downs.
Throwing him into the fire of that mix, as well as Damone Clark, who is coming along but still has his struggles at times with some of that misdirection stuff. So the Cowboys defensively, they have some issues that they have to deal with, and that's why, and I hope I'm not taking you off your point, that's why to me this game will solely be on the shoulders Kellen Moore, Dak Prescott, and this Cowboys offense. This defense held you down for 5 games when Dak Prescott was out. It's now your turn, offense, to return the favor now that this defense is ailing with illnesses and injuries and just flat out wore down and tired. You have to pick up and hold this defense down in this football game today.
That's a question that I posed this week is this an offense-driven team or defense? And I think now it's offense. Given everything that's going on with the defense, the struggles, the injuries, the play, it's back to being the offense. You just hope the defense can find its way to be dominant again like it was at the beginning of the year. And when we saw Michael Parsons be a defensive player of the year.
Yep.
And before we switch over to the offense side of the ball, I think maybe the elephant in the room this week is how are they going to utilize Michael Parsons? Last week, really strange game. He had 12 pressures last week and a sack, but a lot of people looked at that like, oh, what's going on with Micah? They got the ball out fast last week, man, and they were doing what they could do with Micah, but Micah was creating pressure. Others are not finishing like they were prior in the year, and that's where you can go all the way to the offseason and say, well, that's why you got to go get a Von Miller or somebody like that, because now you got him on the other side as opposed to guys who are going to hit a wall talent-wise because that's not who they are. However, Dan Quinn was asked about, well, is Micah going to be a part of replacing LVE? And at the beginning of the year or beginning of the week, it sounded like they would use him a little bit at linebacker. Do you think in this game, because he played some last time they played the Eagles with Jalen Hurts, but do you think he should do some more linebacker things this week, or continue to roll them out there at defensive end.
I think with the loss of Leighton Vander Esch and the way that Philadelphia is going to try to run the football, I suppose, you got to give Micah Parsons an opportunity to be at that linebacker spot because of his strength, his athleticism, and he's probably right now the most knowledgeable of this defense from a linebacking perspective.
Yeah.
When you're talking about Damone Clark and Jabril Cox now having to go out there with Anthony Barr. So to kind of stabilize that linebacking core, I think you have to give Micah Parsons an opportunity to play linebacker and then pick and choose on those third down situations where you're going to use him as a rusher. And even if you blitz him from the linebacking position, for Micah Parsons, he is the hem of this defense. He is the line of this defense. He's the alpha, the omega of this defense. How he goes, the rest of this defense goes, and his pressure has allowed a lot of other people to eat all season long up front and in the back end. So I think with him it's now Dan Quinn has to kind of be really picking and choosing how he plays Micah Parsons at linebacker or defensive end. But that's why they pay you the big bucks.
Right.
That's why you got to raise Dan Quinn, because now you're supposed to figure this out to give your defense the best opportunity to be successful.
Indeed. And on the other side, the Micah Parsons of the offense, I think, is Dak Prescott. Ever since he's returned, this offense has been one of the best offenses in the league. And that's with all the turnovers and whatnot, right? They've been averaging something like 35 points per game, which is absurd. I don't expect them to maintain that, but we know that they can put up points. But this defense might be the best defense. No, not might be. Is the best defense that they will have seen. And boy, oh boy, this is why I don't care about the quarterback situation on the other side, because this is really the big heavyweight fight, Jesse. The Cowboys offense against this Philadelphia Eagles defense. And one of the main things I have here in my notes is the Cowboys, they have to play a clean game. Hear me out. Clean doesn't mean that it's going to be
perfect.
Yeah, perfect, right? Maybe you have a fumble. Maybe there is a turnover. I understand that. But you can't have multiple of those. You can't have 13 penalties, not against this team. This is the exact type of team, you could argue last week because they have talent, but this is the exact type of team that you want to measure yourself against. Can we be clean against a defense that can cause havoc everywhere? They've got the rushers up front, the defensive run stoppers up front, the active athletic linebackers on the second level, and we know about the secondary, and I believe, is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson coming back because he led the league in interceptions.
He might not play this game,
okay,
but they still
with Bradbury, Slade,
right.
they're playing well on that back end. So, that was the number one thing I had with this offense. They need to play clean first before we get to everything else.
No, they do. And you just mentioned that there are very little holes that the Philadelphia Eagles have defensively.
No, very little.
Of their 60-something sacks, 40 of them come from the guys up front, the defensive linemen. So you talk about somebody who can get after the quarterback. They are on pace for, I think, maybe only the second time in NFL history to have 4 guys up front
with
have 10 plus sacks. So think about that. Like, they get to the quarterback, and for the Cowboys, having a clean game means having no pre-snap penalties, having no post-snap penalties. Don't find yourselves in those third and long situations where now this defense can pin their ears back and come after your quarterback. I know that Tyron Smith is now playing the right side. No more rotation. Leave Tyron out there.
Tyron got to be out there.
No more. No, please, God, no more of the musical chairs with Tyron Smith and Jason Peters. And if you're going to give help, I'm just saying, if you're going to give help, look over to the left side. Give the young boy, Tyler Smith, a little bit of help. He's been struggling as of late.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the rookie wall or just, I do know that when you get to the second half of the season, a lot of film is out there now. And most guys don't have a chance to change who they are until the offseason. So for Tyler Smith, people have now seen what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and are able to attack those things. And so looking at this defense up with the Philadelphia Eagles, a lot of veteran knowledge up front for the Philadelphia Eagles. So Tyler Smith has to be on his game today, because they're going to look at him and say, young fella, we know we got 2 Hall of Famers over there on the right side, but you, my son, may be the mouse in the house for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And that's why, to me, Jesse, this game is going to come down to Kellen Moore.
Oh.
Kellen Moore is going to have to really scheme up stuff today. It's going to have to be a really good game plan. It's going to have to be a really good first 15, really good script, right? And then really good you adapting when they do certain things. Like Kellen, I think, is really going to have to bring it today. And then on the extension of Kellen is Dak, right? Because that's what's going to come down. No matter what happens about this game, we're going to look at Dak. We're going to look at Kellen in regards to the offensive side of the ball. They provide so many challenges for you. And I know I hate Philly. Trust me, I hate them to death. But they provide so many challenges for any offense because they got guys now. They addressed the run defense. Yeah. They used to be one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. They went out and said, Linval Joseph, come here. Ndamukong Suh, come here. They got their big baby Jordan back, come here. Javon Hargrave has been a monster inside. I mean, the front five and their front 7 or 10, how many rotation guys they got, that is the matchup. Yep. And that is a matchup they have a massive advantage at. So how do you combat that? I think Kellen is going to have to bring out that quick game this week more than ever, okay? And I know, well, they can sit on that guy, sure. But that's where you get some rub routes. That's where you get Tony Pollard involved. Because while they've been good against the run over the last 3 weeks, and they've held all opposing running backs to 70 yards or less in the last 3 weeks. But in the air, they've been giving up over, I think, 45 yards per game, and there's 9 yards per reception and 2 touchdowns in the last 4 games. So I say, okay, if you can't pass protect for long, then get CeeDee Lamb the ball quick. Get Tony Pollard the ball quick. Hell, if you need to get Michael Gallup involved and let him get some yak stuff, get him the ball fast. But
T.Y. Hilton's playing now.
T.Y. Hilton, Kavontae Tucker, get these guys that could do some things after they catch the ball right now. But I also don't want them to think that they can't stick to doing what they do on the ground because the only team that has had success against them over the last 4 weeks is the Green Bay Packers. And they implement a very similar style of running back, right? Aaron Jones is kind of the Tony Pollard, right? And then Dylan is the Zeke. And they rush for over 100 yards in that game and over 5 yards per carry. So I say this every week, but if Dallas kind of just does what they do, I think they can stay in front of the chains, whatnot, right, and get into third manageable situations. But I do think there's going to need to be some type of coaching with this game against that defense where you got to get these guys involved early in front of the sticks and not try to, hey, we're going to drop back 7 steps and just pray that 5 guys can block these guys up front because I don't think that's going to work.
And the thing is for this Philadelphia defense is while you maybe want to maintain what you do best, there's going to come a point in time in this game where you're going to have to go and make a play.
Sure.
Like you're going to have to drive the ball down the field. You're going to need a 20-plus yard play. You're going to have to get something with an extended level down the field, and you just hope and pray that offensive line can hold up for Dak Prescott. We know he threw an interception last week because his arm got hit. Same thing happened 2 weeks ago. Fumble, and then threw another interception because his arm got hit. So for Dak Prescott, and I think it's in the back of his mind, and you and I had a conversation about this, Dak Prescott comes out and he says, I'm not going to stop being aggressive. And when he says that and he says it repeatedly, it almost kind of gives you a feeling of, but your aggressiveness at times can cost you. And even though there are times when his arm gets hit, that can sometimes be, yes, the blocking is not up front well, but also hold the ball a little bit too long. Sometimes you got to just take what the defense give you, throw out of bounds, live to see another day, and not try to make that play down the field. But you're going to have to do something today to get that defensive front to kind of back off of you a little bit. So taking a shot, and maybe they do it with T.Y. Hilton, but the biggest thing about this whole thing when it comes to Kellen Moore is, can we trust Kellen Moore to consistently scheme up and call the plays at the appropriate time they need to be called for this offense to have success? Because we've seen him at times come out and do some good things, and then all of a sudden you go, why'd you call that?
Why'd you go away from it?
Why'd you go away from it? Why are we running a double reverse now for a loss of 3? No, why are we not attacking the edges again with Tony Pollard? Why? And now you look up and you're like, oh, all right, we're punting again, and we're turning the ball over. Now they're up 14. So for Kellen Moore, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. It's will he do it? It's will he have the mindset today to be creative? Not tricky, creative. Will he have the mindset today or throughout this week to scheme something up to beat this very good defense? It's going to come down to this offense if this Cowboys football team is going to win this game today.
Yeah, I just truly do think it's going to. How how good is the game plan this week, man?
Yep.
Because I only think Ford can do so damn much. I actually think he has cut down on the aggressiveness interceptions. If you look at the last 1, 2, 3, the last 4 picks has nothing to do with being aggressive, right?
Right.
The line of scrimmage tip pass to Noah Brown in the zone.
But what I'm going to cut you up. But what
Yeah.
I do want to say about the aggressiveness is that sometimes what we miss, the aggressiveness at times when you go back and you look at kind of the plays throughout the game, there are a lot of aggressive throws that are completions. And so those are still dangerous throws. Like he threw a pass last week, and CeeDee Lamb cut back in front of the defender and caught it. I think it was on a third down, but he cut
that one-on-one.
Yeah, he cut back in front of. So when I talk about aggressiveness, I'm not just talking about the mistakes. I'm talking about even the successes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's tough.
But when you're being aggressive, and you're having the successes in your mind, you still feel like, I can go be aggressive again. And so just know when the aggressiveness is happening, it sometimes leads to success in the aggressiveness.
My rebuttal to that is he has to do that, though, because this offense is not explosive, right? And those are considered explosive plays for this offense.
But this goes back to what we were just talking about. Can Kellen Moore be creative enough so that Dak doesn't
we don't trust him.
We don't trust him.
So it's like, all right, I got to take this one-on-one with –
Exactly.
And one-on-one is fine. The ones where we were having an issue with was CeeDee Lamb across the middle of the field, deep, and he has to read. And I feel like they've cut those down. They almost don't even run them no more, which, fine, good. They've utilized CeeDee Lamb in a different way. Now teams are starting to adapt to, all right, y'all not taking the shots from aggressiveness. So what do we do for the Texans? Well, we're just going to drop back in zone. You're going to run double slants into a sea of 7
right.
and hope for tip balls, and there were a bunch of tip balls. So is that considered aggressive? Not really, right? And last week we saw the 2 passes that were picked off wasn't really about aggressiveness. It was about pass protection breaking down, the interception, the Texans pass protection breaking down. So I agree with Dak is that he can't cut it back because we don't have the skill players, unless T.Y. changes, and we don't have the scheme to afford to nerf this offense any more than it's already nerfed. So it's unfortunately we gotta, I don't want to say live or die, but we gotta kind of live with those throws.
We have to live or die with those throws.
Maybe it is live or die, which I hate, because it's not like we're getting 40-yard bombs.
Right.
It's like 25-yard completions on one-on-ones. It's really ridiculous because if you go watch the other side of the ball, talking about the Eagles, you see a Devontae Smith just wide open. You see A.J. Brown just running across. Quez Watkins.
Yeah, but you and I both know
that's
good. That's schematically drawn up so that those guys have the advantage. And again, when you talk about, we don't have enough time for.
I know we don't.
Because I want to break this down.
We talked about it on the podcast. Go listen to the podcast for real, y'all.
I even want to break this down, even when it comes to Dak Prescott. And I talked about this weeks ago. Because of the style that the Cowboys run, they run a lot of man routes. So when Dak Prescott comes to the line and there's a bunch of man routes all the way around and this team now sits in a zone, if he guesses the wrong side,
it could be big-time trouble.
It's trouble, and I don't have time to come back to find a second or third option. That's the difference between having those two type of offenses where other teams are scheming guys open. The Cowboys run a lot of man routes into zones, and so now if you don't have prolific route runners, we miss you, Amari Cooper. Hope all is well. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Or scheme.
Now your quarterback has to be aggressive, has to take those throws, and at times when he doesn't have anything, he's back there pumping the ball, and the rush is coming, and that's how the mistakes begin to happen. We don't have time to all the way fully break it down. Listen to us on Wednesdays. We got more time, but this is what you're faced with week in and week out with your quarterback and offensive coordinator and what they're running with the guys that they have.
And the 32nd pass block win rate offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah.
32nd or 31st. So you got one of the worst pass blocking units that, it's hard to really have him just sit back there.
Right.
So it's a challenge. These are the things that, people don't talk about.
Right.
A lot of casuals don't care about, but these are the contexts that we like to include in what's going on out here. That's why, when these players go out here and they succeed the way they do and what they're given, I give them a hell of a lot of props. Unless I do see things schematically, then I will give those coaches props because we saw it with Kellen.
Yeah.
Kellen was in his bag in the first half of that game. Then he was like, all right, we'll save that for what? When? I don't know. And when we got the clutch moments in the game, we talked about this on the podcast, we didn't see not one single one of those plays that worked.
Nope.
Not one. So
not even the motions. None of it. Nothing. None of it. Oh, just hey, everybody run straight.
We ran 3 verts.
We ran 3 verts into a defense that was like, hey, if you guys run verts, we'll love it. Oh, thank goodness you ran verts. We'll double CD Lamb and let you do whatever you want out here with everybody else.
Let's hope we get the first half Kellen for 4 quarters in this game.
If Santa is real.
In this game. And we need the offense to play clean like we said. Well, let's get to the third block because kickoff is in about 20 minutes, roughly.
Yeah.
Roughly 20 minutes. And in the third block, if y'all don't know, man, now you do know. Let's talk about it. Underdog Fantasy Sports. If your fantasy football season is over and it's done, it doesn't have to be. If you stunk in your last, it doesn't have to be. You can still play fantasy football on Underdog Fantasy, and you can use the Pick'em game. It's so easy, man. Just look for your favorite team. It doesn't matter if you dislike them or you like them. The opposing team, that is, you can pick one of those as well. 2 teams. Pick one. I think you actually need 3. 3 to 5 different players. Pick'ems, high, lows, and if you get them right, you win cold, hard cash. Use the promo code ATOZ on Underdog Fantasy, and they will match your deposit up to $100. Let's get to high, low, Jesse, for Week 16. We're going to start off with Gardner Minshew. Cowboys Nation, you can play along if you know how this goes. Higher or lower, 235.5 passing yards in today's game.
I'm going to go lower. I think Gardner Minshew, the scheme for Gardner Minshew today is run the football, run the football, run the football, pass when we have to, but we're not having Gardner Minshew throw the ball 35, 40 times.
Right.
I mean, if Gardner Minshew is 12 for 17, 13 for 19 for 180 yards and a touchdown, I think that's the game that they want to play, but they want to have 200-plus yards rushing on the ground.
If he gets over that, one of 2 things happen. They absolutely crushed you with screens, like big plays, popping big screens, or A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins got deep a bunch of times in this game. But so I don't really foresee him throwing the rock a lot, and I don't think they want to. Granted, the pass rush hasn't been as dominant. That's because teams are respecting it even more now, and they're trying to get rid of the ball real fast. So I got lower in this one.
Quickly, the New York Giants just lost to the Minnesota Vikings on a 61-yard field goal.
61?
As time expired, Minnesota wins at home. Yeah, on the last second, 61-yard field goal to win it.
This is another reason why the Eagles have to actually play this game. They lose this game, the Minnesota Vikings are 1 game out for a bye. 1. I know they beat the Minnesota Vikings earlier, but it's pressure on Philly to win this game. So, I'm not hearing the backup stuff. Dak Prescott, higher or lower, 1.5 passing touchdowns today?
Higher.
Yeah, I got higher. He's had like 2 in almost every game.
Yeah.
He's got 17. This was crazy about the interceptions we were ignoring. He has 18 total touchdowns in 8 games since he's returned.
Yeah.
18. Man, that means the dude is going to score probably a couple touchdowns today. I got 2+ today, so I got higher as well, Cowboys Nation. Tony Pollard. Actually went different today. I didn't do the yards because I'm trying to tie it into what I think the game plan should be.
Right.
So higher or lower, 3 receptions.
Oh, higher. Higher.
Yeah, I want higher on this one because I just think getting the ball out quick today. Right? They got a really good pass rush. Your offensive line is still figuring things out with Tyron Smith on the right side, who played a decent game, but he said, I can play better. That's a ridiculous front they have over there. So get the ball out TP. I got higher.
I'm with you. I agree.
Dalton Schultz. I'm always include Dalton. I don't care what it is. Receptions, I don't care. Dalton Schultz. Higher or lower? That's my money man right there. 37.5 receiving yards.
Man.
I didn't do receptions today.
If we're tying it to the game plan and to get the ball out quick, then I got to go higher.
That's why I
got to go higher. If we're tying it to the game plan, the ball's coming out quick. Who's the quarterback's favorite friend?
Dalton Schultz.
Tight end, Dalton Schultz. So,
and also, I hate to show the Eagles respect, but I do respect their corners enough to where he's going to have to come off of C.D. Lamb and Michael Gallup probably a few times, and that means Dalton Schultz, right? So I got higher. I think Schultz could have like a 60-yard game. I just hope it's a 60-yard game and a win.
Yes.
The Titans had a good game against the Eagles in the second half in the first week, but that was, Cooper Rush, different story. Right. So we'll see what happens here. So that's it right there for the Underdog Fantasy Pick'ems. I got lower on Gardner Minshew, higher on Dak Prescott for touchdowns, higher on receptions for Tony Pollard, and higher on Dalton Schultz for receiving yards. I think we were 4 for 4 We picked the same ones here. I don't
Yes.
think you want different way.
We online.
Yeah, Cowboys Nation. So make sure y'all hit up Underdog Fantasy. And if you do use our pick'ems or your own pick'ems, send them to me or Jesse, man. We would love to show y'all
Screenshot them
wins. Yeah, we'll show y'all wins to the nation.
And I need to know who to borrow money from.
That's another thing. I'll look to y'all during football.
Mortgage is due right around the corner, and Christmas is just over. So I'm gonna need 5 on it. I got 5 on. I need some of y'all to have 5 on that.
I don't know what I job for
mortgage.
my kids this Christmas. So I'm trying to get some money back. You know? I put the insurance on. You can click the insurance just in case you don't get all 4 of them. You get 3 of them, you still win money.
Yeah.
So that's the good thing there. All right, let's get to the mouse in the house, man. Then our predictions here. Who is your mouse in the house for the Eagles? Which is tough because that's a really good unit or a good team over there. But your mouse in the house, who would it be?
Man, this team offensively and defensively, honestly,
it's tough.
they don't have any holes, man. They don't really like the mouse in the house to me is Mr. Jean Shorts himself.
I'm about to say
Gardner Minshew.
it's a low-hanging fruit. It's Gardner.
It's Gardner Minshew. It's because you look around, they got the best offensive line in the league. They got an elite receiver.
Paying $100
for a dollar. You know what I'm saying?
Just with the best offensive line.
They got the best offensive line. You know, Heisman Trophy winner and elite route runner in Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
Quez Watkins can take the top off. A.J. Brown is an absolute man-child beast.
He's a beast.
Dallas Goedert has come back from injury, so he got them healthy, happy, fresh legs.
He ready.
Defensively, big play Slay.
It's Gardner.
Gardner Minshew. That's the.
He hasn't had to play all year. It's a road game. The Cowboys have only lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home this year. They average like over 30 points per game, I think it is, at home. Dak feels more comfortable, obviously, at home. This team is more comfortable at home. I think Dan Quinn can maybe do some things to Gardner Minshew to confuse him. And I know he's a veteran, quarterback in a sense. He's been in the league like 4 years or something like that, 4 or 5 years. But he hasn't played a ton this year. So, I'm looking at him as a guy that Dan Quinn can maybe do some things with. So I'm with you.
And interesting note about Gardner Minshew, when he left Jacksonville, he requested to go to Philadelphia.
Interesting.
Like he wanted to go to Philadelphia for whatever reason. Maybe he thought he might have been, but he requested to go to Philly and be a part of the Philadelphia Eagles. So there was something that he saw about this team or this scheme that he felt fit his style of play very well. And so they obliged, and he ended up in Philadelphia.
What's your prediction for the game? I purposely did not listen to the last episode of Hanging with the Boys because I didn't know if y'all was going to pick them on there.
We did. Man, the Cowboys have to find it is, but I am going to try my very best to be. Here's the deal. I've said this time and time again. You want your team to be in 2 places at this point in time in December: peaking and off the injury list. And right now, the Dallas Cowboys are neither one of those.
Right.
They're not peaking offensively. They're not peaking defensively. You just come off a loss against the Jacksonville Jaguars. When Jaron Kearse comes out and he starts talking about guys doing certain things, somebody sent me a clip this morning and watched those reverses, those end around with Agnew's. Like you're one of your top dogs, Tank Lawrence, not doing his assignment, not keeping containment, falling inside and letting the receiver just wash him down in there. So there's veteran guys in this defense not doing what they're supposed to do. And for this Philadelphia team, I know that they're missing Jalen Hurts, but defensively, they don't have any holes. And they're healthy, and they're playing a really good brand of football. So for me, I got to take the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles 24, the Cowboys 17.
It makes sense, given the talent over there and whatnot, but something this week felt different. I didn't hear a lot of talking this week about the opposing team. I didn't hear a lot of banter. The things seem to feel very quiet.
Yeah.
It felt very quiet. I know this means nothing to most. I think it means something that who those captains were when they came out. Mm-hmm. I think it means something that things have kind of been brewing very lowly here in regards to, like I said, banter, talking, whatever. Cowboys haven't lost back-to-back games this year, and I think they might have done it like once over the last 2 seasons. They're at home, so they go back home. This is still, like I said, the division's not over.
Right.
There's just something about the feel. This really isn't about player for player, scheme for scheme, because I do think that they outdo you in that aspect. But it's something about the feel of this game that I think Dallas is going to come out here and try to prove to the league that they can beat a talented team like Philly, and I think they will get it done. And I also think it helps that Gardner Minshew is the quarterback. Let me just say that right now. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback. I think this thing is I still think it's a coin flip. I think it's more of a coin flip if Jalen is here. But I think Dallas, I just feel like they put it all together in this game. And I'm hoping, I don't want to, listen, I'm a Cowboy fan first. Let me tell you that right now. I would love for nothing but a 50-0 blowout. But I think what would be better for this team is a hard-fought game that they pull out at the end so they can have that momentum that we can finish these games on a more consistent basis, because that hasn't been the case, right? So I got Dallas actually pulling this thing out, and I think it's going to be gritty. I think it's going to be ugly. But I got 24-18 in this game, man. I think the Cowboys' defense shows up, and I think the offense does just enough.
The defense is going to have to show up, and it's, with Sam Williams being out, Hankins being out, LVE being out, you don't know what you have at the cornerback position. Trayvon and Micah are coming off sicknesses, so I'm hoping their body fully recovered to a point where their energy and their strength is there. It may happen. I just think there's a lot of there's a lot of question marks.
Is 100%.
Yeah, I just feel that there's a lot that the Cowboys have to overcome internally. Before the game even starts. So
something feels different this week.
This is why they play the games.
This is why they play the game.
This is why they play the games.
This is why they play the game, man. Let's look. Great pregame show. I need to get off a few minutes early so I can get my mind right, because it's about to be.
My mind's telling me no.
I'm about to go.
But
listen.
my body. We can't.
Listen,
sorry.
I'm gonna have to
is that
warn.
off limits? We can't.
No, we can't. We
R. Kelly.
We can't do our.
Sorry.
We can't
Society
do
says I can't.
They done canceled Kels.
They said society said I can't. A lot of y'all still listening to him in the bedroom. I'm just gonna say that a lot of y'all
still listening to him.
He's still, the numbers are still rising in his streams, but whatever.
Listen, man. Let me get my mentals right and warn these people around here that y'all might want to give me some elbow room, because I ran a 40 last week, so I don't know if we got room. Is it clear path over there? I might get yoked up by one of these little stanchions over
ropes.
here. Yeah, they might get me. But, hey, Cowboys Nation, we appreciate y'all for joining us in the pregame show. Come back halftime, and hopefully the energy is fun and not downtrodden. And then post-game, we'll be here as well, Cowboys Nation. For Jesse Holley, Skywalker Still, this has been the Cowboy Game Day Live pregame show. We'll see you at halftime. Peace.